Well, we have to speak to Maxwell Agbagba. And Maxwell Agbagba is bringing to us the latest. Again, we told you we'll be speaking to members of the Gender Committee of Parliament. And he's here with the latest. Good morning to you, Maxwell.
Good morning to you, Roland.
I'm told that you're speaking to a member of Parliament for Saboba, Charles Bintin.
Yes, he's also a member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Gender and then Children. He has joined us, agreed to join us this morning to basically discuss what they've been up to here in the Central Region and what their mission here in the Central Region has, been. So, welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you, and good morning to your listeners.
We want to start off the conversation with, when we set off right from Accra, we first of all went to the Children's Hospital, the Princess Marie Louis Hospital, mainly because of the reports about, inadequate doctors to attend to children who are not feeling too well. You went there and then you saw things for yourself. Although, the medical superintendent we met said things were a bit okay, she also enumerated some of their challenges regarding, congestion at, some of the wards and some other issues. What did you observe when we went there?
Thank you very much. I think that the Children's Hospital, when we got there, we really realized that there are a lot of challenges ranging from facilities to personnel. You go to the wards, and you will find that children are crowded. Even at a special ward, the doctor who took us around said that they put 2 children on a bed, and that is unfortunate. So the congestion there is not allowing the staff to perform their professional work as they would have done. And that coupled with lack of resources. A lot of their equipment are not in place, are not working. And so I think that basically there is a need for us to do a lot to help our children who are very vulnerable. Because you take Accra with a children's hospital and this is happening. So what of the areas that we do not have children's hospitals? What happens there? You see? Yeah. Then there are even some who have no opportunity to get to the hospital because of the numbers that come there. And they come to wait too long. And we realize that the long waiting is not a result of lack of doctors, but it is a result of pressure on the facility. So I would want to suggest that government may, or even non-governmental organizations, should come in to help, may have to look at extending the hospital, even if possible, putting an annex to ease congestion at the main children's hospital. And I also think that day, my thinking was we should have such hospitals in the various regions. Well, this is Accra, we have a children's hospital, and we have this problem. What of the areas we don't have the children's hospital at all? Where children are competing for health facility with adults. What happens? So I just think that we need to put in some measures and resources to salvage that facility. It is a very important facility that is put at a very vantage point that can help Ghanaian children. And I think that government may not be able to do it all alone. I think churches, non-governmental organizations, because the children are our future leaders. We should all be concerned about their future.
I had the opportunity to also go on a tour of the facility with the Member of Parliament for the Neelante van der Poel, and it came to light that even the magnetic resonance imaging machine there is not working. The X-ray there is not working. Part of the main building itself, is actually leaking. So as a committee, what would you be doing to make sure that resources are channeled to this facility, the Children's Hospital, to see that, we see the expansion of this facility and for all the medical equipment that are not working there are fixed?
Yeah, that day we realized that it would have been better we had gone there with the health committee on health. Then as we are looking at the children's issue, they'll be looking at the facility issue. But as a committee, we are going to make our recommendations, and we will take it upon ourselves to meet the health minister. We will take it upon ourselves to discuss it at parliamentary level. And I think that we are agreeing that we'll make a statement on the floor of Parliament about the state of that hospital to draw government's attention to the place, so that all the equipment, X-ray and other equipment that are not working, they can be fixed immediately. If you take the leaking walls and others, those ones needs to be fixed as soon as possible, because you have children with their mothers and the place is leaking, and when it is raining, what happens? It means that they will have to vacate the place when it is raining, and who moves the place if it rains in the night? So the beds are soiled and how they sleep. So I think that the hospital really needs some urgent attention. And I think that that's why I've said government may not be able to do it alone. We need to trample our need. We need to get other organizations involved and see how we can really come to the aid of this hospital. And I want to commend the doctors and the nurses, even though the news was that they are not attending. But when we got there, we saw that it was really not their fault. Because one, they are understaffed. Two, the pressure is too much. Three, the equipment they'll be working with are not there. And for instance, I'm a farmer. If I'm going to the farm, I don't have a hoe. I mean, I'll feel reluctant to even go to the farm, not to talk of getting there. So I think that the doctors, under the circumstance, are doing their best. And we should rather praise and encourage them to do more. And so we are calling on government, and particularly the Minister of Defense. We're going to discuss with him to pay a visit to the place himself, and then to see how things will be sorted out. And I know when we make a statement on the floor of Parliament, Speaker, well, I'm not Speaker, but I'm very convinced that Speaker may refer the issue to a joint committee of children and then health. And there we can put our heads together to see how we can put this hospital in a good shape to help our future leaders.
Now, closely, tied to this is the sort of protection and safety nets that we are providing for women and children, living in Ghana. Just yesterday, I was reading a story on one of the tabloids about a 26-year-old woman who has been jailed 24 years because right after giving birth in Kade, she actually dumped the baby. And, pigs came in and then ate the baby. The baby, died. She was taken to court and then she was jailed for 24 months. She said she was guilty with explanation. Her explanation was that the father of the child was not willing to cater for that, for that child. And she also did not have the means to cater for the, for the child. That, however, is not justification enough to dump the baby. But you would agree with me that there are circumstances that push some people into doing some of these things. If the safety nets were provided and their institutions really working to provide for vulnerable women and children, that wouldn't have been the case. What is the select committee on gender and children doing to make sure that our women and children are protected enough? Institutions, are working. Social welfare system is working. Orphanages are working.
See, all that has to do with resources. I think that Ghana, we are a country that have more needs than resources. Almost every sector needs some financial support. That basically is our biggest problem. Otherwise, a woman, maybe when there are other women craving and crying for children, you get the opportunity and you dump the child. And our security agencies too. What have they done to the man too? It should not be just the woman. It is the man who has refused to be responsible, and that has compelled the woman to take the actions he has taken. And so the man should equally be pulled to court.
Not to catch you. Yesterday, when we were at the gathering at Asena Samankasi, the commander actually mentioned that there was a gentleman in the community who has impregnated four women. Yes. 4 women, and all of them are teenage girls.
Yes. Yeah. So the men stiffer punishment should be given to men to deter them from, if you are not responsible yet, if you are not ready yet, you don't go in. You see, immediately you now begin to think of befriending a girl, then you should know that you are now getting extra responsibility for yourself. And if you are not ready for that responsibility, then you don't go in. You see? But I also think that with all this, social welfare needs to do more. Social welfare needs to do more. And if they can do more, they need more staff. And they need more resources. You go to the districts, you have just one person sitting there, his social welfare officer. He's not able to go around to do education. So he's sitting there and waiting for cases. And it is not even everybody in the community that knows that if I have such a problem, I have to report to social welfare. If this lady had been educated well, she would have taken this child to social welfare, and social welfare would have given her some counseling, and even if the need be, taking the child to a children's home. But the fact is, we don't have the staff. In my district, I have just one single person. He is the messenger, he is the secretary, he is the officer, he is everything in the social welfare office. So I think that we need to channel resources to certain critical organizations. Organizations that borders on human life, on the organizations that borders on our prosperity and development, so that the vulnerable can be protected. Otherwise, I tell you, let us build all the roads, let us build all the schools. This is a child that has been eaten out by a pig. So you build a school in that community for what? But if some resources were freed and support channeled to social welfare, and this young child was also taken up, maybe he could be the next president of this country. So I think that in planning, we need to prioritize. The social interventions are very important. The social workers should be resourced, should be well-staffed, and they can do the work. I have never seen a district social officer with a vehicle. At best, a motorbike. Some don't even have the motorbikes. So I think Ghana, we as a country, we need a paradigm shift. We have done enough. I'm not saying that the capital projects are not important, but I think we've done enough of the capital projects. So we should now channel resources to social interventions that can help every vulnerable in the society. And when we begin to bring them up, I'm very convinced that Ghana will be moving somewhere. And I also think that we should stop comparing ourselves to the Europes and to the Americas. Those examples are not helping us in Ghana. We want to do something and we are thinking of America, we are thinking of Europe. No, we haven't gotten there. They use our forefathers to get where they are. And so that's why we have black Americans in America. We don't have white Ghanaians in Ghana. So we cannot be like them. So we should do what we can do, take our time, and move at a pace that we think is our strength. We shouldn't stretch ourselves because we want to catch up some other countries. No.
But wouldn't you say that they are the standards? I mean, they have systems that are working. And of course, if you really want to work towards that level, you need to set, some high standards, for yourself. We say the sky is the limit, but there are times that we say that the sky should actually be the starting point. If they have systems that are working, shouldn't we emulate those systems?
Yes, they have systems that are working. Their systems, they didn't just jump from nowhere to reach where they are. Their systems are working. They started from somewhere. They came to Ghana, they caught our forefathers, they took them there, we worked for them, they took our gold, they took our cocoa, our everything to make where they are now. We don't have that opportunity to take from them. So what I think we should do, that's why I said that we should move at a pace that will favor us. We shouldn't gallop. We shouldn't jump. Let's move at a pace. Let's see. Look, children are our future leaders. What do we do about them? If we want to support our children, the children's hospitals must be strengthened. Social welfare system must work. Then when these systems are working, we are gradually getting to where America is. But when our systems are not working, and we think that we need to jump to be like America, that is where we are going to fall and break our waist.
Interesting. Interesting. Now let's fast forward the conversation to the main reason why we came to the central region. Now, sometime in October, the story of a 4-year-old girl who was allegedly defiled broke. Now the member of parliament for that area, since South, made a statement on the floor of parliament, and then the speaker subsequently referred this matter to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Gender and Children, which you are part to investigate this, although the case is still pending before the court. We know that you've been meeting some key stakeholders, some key persons connected to this case. We really don't want to be prejudicial in this, but can you tell us whether this process has been helpful and what your findings have been?
Well, I think that the speaker rightly referred the issue to us. Our coming to Central Region to find the facts of the case, but also to give encouragement to the family and the child that was the victim. And yesterday, when we met the father and mother and the child, I think that we really gave them some encouragement. When we started to talk, the woman broke down. She was weeping. But as we went on, she gathered courage. And at the end of it all, she got up and thanked us. And said, we have come to help her. We really, our coming really gave them some hope. And we gave them all the encouragement. And we made it. The child still has a bright future. The important thing is they should allow the child to continue to go to school. It is an issue that I think that now that it is in court, the police and the courts will do the right thing so that we curb such situations. From our movements and interviews, there is certainly made, and it has been made. So we'll now see how the course will go ahead. I will report to our speaker appropriately, because even the 4-year-old girl, the way the girl spoke, the sister who is about 7 years, who was present, the way she spoke, it could not be possible that they were coached. A 4-year girl cannot be coached and will consistently repeat what she wants to say, and will say it without any deviation or contradiction. And so we think that even though we do not want to preempt things because the matter is in court, but we think that the judicial system, the police, will do the right thing. It is a measure. It is not only for that case. The measure that will be taken is to deter people from future such occurrence. Because if this matter is not properly handled, it means that that area will become a free range for the youth to do what they want. So I think that we'll have to plead with the police to do proper prosecution. We have to plead with the judicial system so that the system should work. Then at the end of the day, justice is all we are looking for.
We'll be wrapping up with this conversation shortly, but still on the issue of defilement. I mean, in the year 2010, for instance, these are just reported cases. In the year 2010, there were 968 cases of defilement in Ghana. Now, from 2010 through to 2015, all these years, we recorded more than 1,000, cases of defilement. Now, if you do the basic mathematics, it tells you that at least daily, more than 2 children are being defiled. And these are just reported cases, because we know that a lot of them go, unreported, and they are swept under the carpet. There are some assertions that the punitive measures that we have put in place are not deterring enough. For instance, the minimum sentence for somebody who defiles a child, minimum is 7 years, maximum is 25 years. There are some who are calling for stricter legislations. Do you agree? What are your views on this?
Oh, perfectly. I agree perfectly, because I think that we are not punishing the perpetrators enough, and that is why it is continuing. Even surprisingly, you find some of these cases, they go to court and the perpetrator is granted bail. He comes back and he's working among others. So when his colleagues see that, oh, the arrested, he has come back, he's working, even if at a later time he's jailed, The notion has already been created that you can do it and get off free. And we Ghanaians, we have a mentality. At the village level, immediately the first granted bail, it means the case is a foolish case. So I think that the police and the courts must do more. If somebody defies a girl, even if there's a reported case of defilement, look, for the fact that you have allowed yourself to be suspected to have defiled somebody, you should be dealt with. Even if at a point you are found innocent, it would have been a deterrent measure to others. But you see, our system is like that, oh, evidence, evidence, evidence. So we hide behind evidence to do more. And you see, some of these girls they defy are very innocent. Very little, they do not even know how to defend themselves. And so the parents do not even have the means to follow up the case. Even sometimes lorry fare to travel, they don't have. So what happens?
Sometimes even the cost of the medical report.
The medical report. But when you go to police, you go with the police form to the police to hospital, you pay something before, and that is illegal. So the father, the mother do not even have money to transport themselves to the police station, to the court, to the hospital, not to talk of paying the medical bills. So at best, they keep quiet and they sit back. Then it is happening. I think that a system must be put in place. Once the case is a defile case or is a rape case, government should come out with a policy that can protect our ladies. So that if a lady is reporting a defiled case, he should be treated and the court system goes through so that whatever bill is there, the gentleman is made to pay. Not that even the victim should pay before the money is refunded. And because some victims cannot pay, they don't report. But if the victim knows that, look, if I'm defiled, I go to hospital, the hospital will take care of me, and it is the perpetrator that will be made to pay, you see a lot of cases will be reported to the hospital.
Finally and thankfully, you are a lawmaker in Ghana's parliament, and you are part of the committee. Are you going to push for stricter legislation? Are you going to push for laws that would deter people from defiling our girls?
When we get back to Accra, we're even going to put together a report to the Speaker on this trip. And it is one of the recommendations we are going to make. We're going to make a recommendation to the Speaker that, look, we need to do more. Where Ghana is going, it is no longer a very safe place. It must be a safe place for both sexes. But it looks like it's no longer a safe place for the women and our girls. So we need to take a measure. Apart from the punishment, let us also see how we can put in some education to change the attitudes of those who perpetrate this. Attitudinal change is also very important, and they need education. Yes. So the right organizations should be empowered to do a lot of education so that nobody will pretend that he's doing that out of ignorance.
I want to say a big thank you to you, Mr. Charles Bintin. You had to wake up early to do this for us. We're so grateful for speaking to us. So you just heard from Charles Bintin. Bintin is actually the Member of Parliament for Saboba, and he is also a member of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Gender and then Children. He has been part of the team here in the Central Region, trying to sensitize people about the issue of sexual abuse and general issues regarding, women and girls. So from here at our hotel in Cape Coast, Maxwell Agbagba, and over to you to the studio.
Maxwell Agbagba, a roving man, spending a bit of time in Cape Coast, but also spending a bit of time with the Select Committee on Gender and Children, and they've been touring. So we'll bring you a lot more conversations to come here on JoyNews today and throughout tomorrow as well. We'll tell you some of the discoveries by this committee, and really, when we go on a fact-finding mission, and then what? Big question. We will talk about that as well.